Dear colleagues, good morning. We start our work. The first briefing is a Skype connection with Kramatorsk. Presentation of the documentary Abscess about the so-called Donestk People's Republic occupation regime. We have Maksym Maksymov, author of the presentation, and Tetiana Brodnikova, moderator. The floor is yours, Tetiana. Good afternoon, dear friends. Welcome to our Skype connection. We wanted to present the documentary by Maksym Maksymov about the events of the last year in Donetsk. He wanted to present his vision and to tell the story, what actually happened in Donetsk during last year. Please show the teaser. The Abscess. On May 9th and 11th, the Victory Day and the first anniversary of the referendum was celebrated. You see the columns marching and the Russian tanks on the square. Donetsk is getting accustomed to the situation of warfare, and peoples with machine guns are now occupying the leading position. The miner is now not the symbolic figure of the society. Now we have seen the non-conquered Donbass. Unfortunately, the famous civic celebrations remained in the past, and now they have the Victory Day, which instead of the day commemorating the heroic actions of our grandfathers, is now symbolizing the military might, so-called military might. It began on March 1st, 2014, on the central square. The majority of people with a strange Russian pronunciation and a doubtful governor who received powers from the hands of these people with a typically Russian version of Russian language, which is not typical for this region. For Ukraine, the parades of hatred, Caucasian dance parties, and holidays without people, without crowds. This is the new history of Donetsk, or how it is called now, so-called Donetsk People's Republic, DNR. This is the story of eliminated hopes and expectations, of great deceit and the innocence. And this is the time to speak about the first conclusions. For us, it's easier to speak Russian, and now I would like to give the floor to Maksym. He will tell you about his documentary. He was born in Donetsk. He spent a big part of his life in Donetsk, and he will tell about the story. Good afternoon. Unfortunately, we cannot see you, but I will try to express my idea. This documentary is a compressed expression of my civic position, my position as a citizen of Ukraine, we wanted to show the DNR as a phenomenon. We tried to look at this phenomenon from different points of view, from different angles of vision. We tried to see the social side, the managerial side, the propaganda side, and now you can see what we managed to do. Probably you will make your own conclusions. Maybe you have some questions, maybe some comments as to the teaser that you have seen. Dear journalists, you are welcome to ask your questions. Good afternoon. I'm Sergey Malarchuk from UCMC. Max, what is the objective of your documentary? This is the first question. And the second question, whether at some moment of making a movie, there were attempts to intimidate either you or your relatives. Thank you for the questions. Probably the final objective of the documentary is to show the vulnerability of the DNR as a phenomenon. When we look at the DNR as the phenomena from outside, we can see that it is vulnerable from the ideological side, from economic side, from in many aspects, from political view. We tried to criticize the DNR from the common sense position, not trying to make any objections against ideology, etc. I left Donetsk at early stages. This is to the question about intimidation, and I left it early when this started, and there are some people who left in Donetsk who are familiar with my position, and in the past there were some attempts to intimidate me, but actually now they simply do not know what I am doing. But this is my civic position, and I'm eager to defend my civic position. Anton Kroch, UCMC. Why? The first question: how have you chosen the name for the documentary, and whether you tried to make some shows, first shows of the movie? The name, the Abscess, is a reflection of the documentary itself. There are many quotations from the so-called DNR leaders. They have Pushilin, Denis Pushilin, who is chairman of the Donetsk Council, and in some interviews he once said, this was late fall of 2014, so in one of the interviews which appeared later in one of the internet websites, he said, we do not know what our future will be. Probably this will be like the abscess, which will now and then appear in the body of Ukrainian state. I think that this comment is very precise in characterizing the nature of the so-called DNR. Whether you had a show of your movies in of your documentary in Kramatorsk, we had the first show on Espresso TV. There was the night with Kniazhitsky program, and it was shown on the framework of this program. And one more question from UCMC, whether this documentary will be available for online views. You can find it on YouTube, and this could be easily done. Dear colleagues, whether you have any questions, and don't forget to present yourselves. Sergey Malarchuk, UCMC. Our center in general, and I personally, I'm participating in producing the movie Crimea. The story of the events, and now my question is about financial side of the project, whether it required much from your side, and whether you plan to make documentaries in the future. Of course, this is not easy question. I shoot this documentary on my own account, but also, of course, I got assistance from sponsors from interviews to Mr. Andrei Kulikov personally, who donated for this documentary. The documentary was shot in Donetsk, and we made 3 big pieces of documentary, shooting of documentary films intentionally for this movie. It was in March, then in late spring, and the referendum, so-called, or so-called Republican Day. But actually this documentary is not the actual story. This is like typical documentary, sort of analysis, and the main emphasis was made on following up the comments and remarks made by the so-called DNR leaders, and in contrast to their actions. And finally, we reviewed the so to say results of their activities, how the Donbass is ruined, and what is the situation, whether you plan to show this documentary in the temporarily occupied territories in order to change the situation and the mood. Of course, we would like to do this, but we are not sure about technical means how this could be done. Happily, the internet is available for people. If you know the situation with the TV on this territory, unfortunately, people cannot watch Ukrainian TV channels in the occupied territory. since the documentary is in the internet, people probably will be able to see it, but unfortunately we cannot broadcast for this territory, and Ukraine knows this possibility. Maksym, do you have any creative plans for the future? Yes, I have in mind the future projects and some ideas. One idea is maybe make something to continue the topic raised in this first documentary. We had been doing it for 1 year, and there is much material which we had to put aside and not to include in this movie. That's why we want to use this material for the future film. Probably this will be the Abscess postscriptum, and there are also ideas about future projects. Unfortunately, Ukrainian counter-propaganda do not respond to the changing situation, and it lags behind, and I feel that we have to do something to fill this gap, but this will depend not only on me. Thank you very much, dear friends. See you later. And our next briefing will be at 12:30. There will be Canal Listen.